We all make mistakes in life, from small slip-ups to bad decisions that have major consequences in our lives. Feeling guilty about our mistakes is human, but then the problem is when we entertain the guilt to an extent that we choose to live in our past. We choose to blame ourselves. And instead of us seeing present, instead of us seeing the future, we keep on blaming ourselves for the past that we are not able to change unless we take responsibility from now and look forward instead of looking backward. So today I want us to talk about how to deal with the feeling of guilt. And before that, I want us to know that guilt is a feeling that will keep on visiting the moment we do something that isn't right. And I want us to know that guilt shows that we care, but then it should not hold us back from taking action, from making changes, from doing what we are supposed to do, from taking responsible actions. Guilt is a feeling that should give us a message, and then we deal with it and then we let it go. We should not be sabotaged by guilt to an extent that we don't see our future, we just see the past. As I have mentioned earlier, that the mistakes we make, some of them are minor and some of them are major. And some of them only affect us, but some also affect other people. So we feel guilty about these mistakes. So how do we deal with it? How can we unfeel or unlearn the feeling of being guilty and taking action instead of dwelling in it? So we feel guilty about different things, and let's assume you are now feeling guilty. Now at that moment when you are experiencing guilt, I want you to ask yourself, what brought up this feeling of guilt? What is the thought behind the feeling? What is the action behind the feeling? The reason as to why you are feeling this way is because you feel that what you did wasn't right. Now, once you trace that action, the next thing I want you to do is accept that that is in the past. I want you to accept that you cannot revisit the experience and undo it. You have to accept that whatever happened already happened, and you cannot undo it. What you can do is take responsibility of your future so that you might not commit the same mistake again. And if you do, you also have to give yourself another chance, but you have to try your best not to. So instead of dwelling in the feeling of blaming yourself, in the feeling of in the act of labeling yourself as a bad person, I want you to move to step 2. Ask yourself, why did you take this decision? Why did you do whatever you decided to do? And then you could have done whatever you did because you thought it was the best thing to do. You didn't have knowledge about what you were doing, and now you have realized that you are wrong. You want to change. You have realized that your why or the reason behind your action wasn't right. And you wanting to change is a good sign. It shows that you are a good person. It shows that you care, and it shows that it was a mistake. And no matter how you have hurt the people that you have hurt, no matter how much you harmed yourself, but you having this idea or this intention for you to change things, for you to take responsibility of whatever happened, shows that you are not a bad person. You are a good person. You are a person who takes responsibility of what happens. You are a person who takes responsibility of their mistakes. So guilt won't stop following you around. It will keep reminding you of what you did, and you need to keep on reminding yourself that you're human, that you are trying your best to make sure whatever happened doesn't repeat itself. Guilt will keep on following you around, but you need to be compassionate with yourself. You need to be compassionate, with yourself. You need to keep affirming yourself that you are a good person. You need to affirm yourself and remind yourself that you're only human and that life doesn't have a marking scheme. It is a matter of us slipping off sometimes and making the necessary corrections and taking responsibility for the mistakes that we make instead of us dwelling in the past. It is a matter of you reminding yourself that God has given you several chances so that you can go back to Him every time you sleep, and that sleeping is part of being human. It is part of who we are. And you also need to remind yourself that you don't always make mistakes. It is something that happens once in a while, and don't let the idea of you making mistakes define you. You are not your mistakes. You are this person who is responsible. You are this person who is caring. You are this person who is loving. And I'm sure you can count the bad decisions that you have made in your life, and you cannot count the good that you have done in your life, because the good surpasses what is bad. The good you have done is more than the bad that you keep on blaming yourself for having done. So you have to keep on reminding yourself of the good things you have done. Keep on reminding yourself that you did whatever you did because you thought it was the best thing to do back then. You did whatever you did because you didn't have the knowledge. You did whatever you did, and there's no way you can change that, but you can take responsibility of now. You can take responsibility of your future. So after looking for the why of why you did whatever you did, next thing is asking yourself, what lesson have I learned from this experience, from this thing that makes me feel guilt, and how can I make myself better at whatever I'm blaming myself for not doing or for doing. Yeah, so basically, if you have noticed, we are not trying to chase the feeling of guilt away. We are taking it slowly. We are looking at it. We are viewing the message. We are going down to finding the why. We are going down to finding the lessons. Because the only way we can get rid of this guilt is if we listen to the message that it carries. We can't get rid of it by just pushing it away. So we need to see the lesson that came from the action that made us feel guilty. Step number 4, after taking the lesson, we need to ask ourselves, what responsibility can I take for the mistake that I committed? Yeah, so basically this step is just making you own your mistakes instead of you pushing them away. So if you look at the whole process, it gives you a chance of accepting that you are human, that you make mistakes, but it also gives you the opportunity to own your mistakes and be responsible for whatever you have done. And by you being responsible, you automatically take the garment of guilt off. Because guilt comes when we commit mistakes, and here you're taking responsibility of what you did not take responsibility for in the past. And it's going to take a while before you take the garment off completely, but you have to trust the process. You have to give yourself time. You have to be compassionate with yourself. Yeah, and you have to keep on affirming yourself that you are doing your best to be responsible. You are focusing on your future, that your past does not define you. You're just going to use your past to learn lessons and not use it to define your entire future, because you're not your past mistakes. Something to note is that sometimes the mistakes we make not only affect us, they affect other people. And these people have their own journey. They might have forgiven you. They might be in the process of healing so that they can forgive you. They might have cut you off so that they can have time for themselves, so that they would forgive you without any struggle. Bottom line is, you cannot control how they feel. You can only control the response of how you own your mistakes. So work on yourself, forgive yourself every time, and take responsibility of the thing that you did. And once you take responsibility, once you are okay, it's just contagious. You might find the other people also forgiving you and moving on with you. This might take a while because it involves other people's feelings. But then you have to forgive yourself every time you have these disturbing thoughts of how they might be feeling. You need to tell yourself that you are human, that you took the necessary steps. If it's asking for forgiveness, if it's showing up for these people, like you are taking responsibility of what is in your capability. But then you also need to know that they have their own journey, that you have to give them time. that you have to understand that they are also humans, and they felt whatever happened, they felt whatever you made them feel. But then you need to also know that you are not in control of their state of happiness. So give yourself time too. So guys, that is all for today. The first thing is to asking yourself what brought up the feeling of guilt. Trace the thought, trace the action. After tracing the action, ask yourself for the reason. Why did you do what you did? And after getting the reason behind it, you have to categorize your reasoning. Was it out of knowledge? Was it because you thought that was the best thing for you to do? Number 3 is taking the lesson out of whatever you decided to do in the past. What were you supposed to do? What were you not supposed to do? Take the lesson. Number 4, take responsibility of that mistake by improving your current situation. This should wrap up the video. The most important things to note in the process is that it won't be easy, but it's worth the time. You will have to affirm yourself so many times that you're a good person, that you're not defined by your mistakes, that you're trying your best to take responsibility of your mistakes. And the whole process, you can do it by taking off time and just looking through your thoughts and talking to yourself, or you can grab a pen and paper, or you can talk to someone about it. Just do what works for you, and just make sure that whenever guilt shows up, you handle it, you listen to the message that it carries before it leaves. You might want to grab some of these affirmations before you go. You are only human. You don't always make mistakes. The reason as to why you're feeling guilty is because you care about other people's emotions, you care about your decisions, and the reason as to why you are taking responsibility is because you are a responsible person. Yeah, so the moment you will be dealing with guilt, keep on affirming yourself, keep on talking to yourself, keep on reminding yourself about your true worth. Yeah, so that is all for today, guys. This has been an amazing session speaking to you. Support us, sister. Watch, like, comment, bring in more subscribers. Ma salam.